Hi.
Hey,
How are
nobody's
you?
here yet. That was weird that nobody was getting back to me.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I can call you shortly though.
Oh, no, don't worry. I was just calling you back because you called me. No problem. I've got a million things.
Alex, I like your background.
Hi.
Thank you. It's as much that I only have one background to use that I know how to and was sent by the city for a meeting maybe 2 months ago as anything else, but I do like it.
I haven't figured that out yet myself, the background, so
There's
kudos.
well, I had to have someone smarter than me do it. So I do, whenever I look at it, I like this one. And I always think that is a very hefty cat.
He looks like he's got an attitude as well.
Right. Well, I mean, you would too. He's probably sweating.
Hi, Alex and Christopher. Nice to meet you both. I'm Julie.
Hi, thank you guys for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's good to meet you both. When do you all get sworn in?
I believe it's based on the email. I thought it was the February.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Yes.
Oh, so you're officially members. Oh,
Right.
awesome. So I was going to say, I don't think we have a quorum, but now I think we do.
Well, I'm not a member. I'm
Oh,
in the
you're
city
just-
attorney's office.
Oh,
Alex
of course
is
you
it,
are.
yeah.
Of course you are. I'm sorry. Of
Oh, no,
course
no
you
problem.
are. I've
You
met
have
you before, Alex.
four.
So we have 4 of the 6, 7.
Just
Cars
7.
here.
4 of the 7. Awesome.
Yep. Cars here too.
Okay, great. Maureen, would you please go ahead and do roll call?
Sure. Monica,
Here, present.
Cara,
Present.
Colleen,
Present.
Julie,
Present.
and I think that's everybody. That's 5. So
Chris, well,
we have Alex Dorotek from the city attorney's office. He's the interim city attorney. And Christopher. Oh, Christopher, you need to say you're here too.
Present.
Okay.
and
all
then there's one more member that just joined.
Robert Watson, are you here? Robert? It says he's here, but he's not answering, and he's the alternate, so you can move forward.
Okay.
You
Question,
do have a
Maureen.
quorum.
Maureen, since the purpose of this meeting is to review the attorney's proposed edits, is Christopher able to vote?
Yes, he's a full-fledged,
Yes.
yeah, he's a member.
Great. Okay,
As
even
of
though he wasn't.
yesterday.
Okay, awesome. So even though he wasn't at the meeting, there's nothing that
That
precludes.
doesn't matter because you guys really didn't discuss it, so you're
Great.
discussing it and taking action this evening.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. Sorry about that diversion, guys. I just wanted to make sure I had the protocol correct. So I'd like to welcome everyone and call the special meeting of the Code Enforcement Advisory Committee meeting on this February 2nd, 2021. I don't know why that was difficult to say. And a special welcome to Christopher and Robert Watson, Christopher Underwood and Robert Watson, who both were sworn in yesterday as new members. Christopher is a full-term member, and then Robert is our alternate. And then I would also like to welcome Alex Dorotek, who is from the city attorney's office and is here to answer any questions we may have for the proposed edits. So the purpose of this meeting Actually, I think we have do we have any other attendees? Maureen, do we have any other attendees that have joined
Sonia just
to
joined.
speak? Okay, but I mean, in terms of speakers. So no other speakers, is that correct, Maureen? Okay, all right, great. All right, so as a reminder and for the information of our two new members, we called this special meeting to review proposed edits from the city attorney's office. Back in January, or actually it was back in November, we submitted a proposal to City Council to update the code for section 7 or 7.1 animals and fowl as it related to code enforcement's ability to impound animals other than dogs and cats. And we asked at the time, we requested that the city attorney make the recommended edits because there were several different ways the code could be modified to incorporate animals other than just dogs and cats in terms of protecting them from cruelty and neglect. And so that was presented to City Council in January. And then City Council requested the City Attorney's Office to make the proposed modifications, and then those proposed modifications were sent to us to review. And that's the purpose of our meeting today, is to get feedback from the committee members in terms of whether or not the proposed edits accomplish our goal of protecting all animals from cruelty and neglect in the city of Inglewood. So if I could, I'm going to go ahead and Carson is not able to join. He lost his internet from some work that they were doing on the street by his house. So he sent me some proposed edits. If it's okay with you, I'll go ahead and share with you what his comments were. Basically, he felt like the edits were appropriate and did cover animals other than dogs and cats. He had one question about whether or not we have defined domesticated animals, and that was not included in the document that was provided to you. However, it is in the title. So domesticated animals are defined as dog or cat or any other animal kept as a household pet or as livestock. So that is inclusive of all animals. And so what they've done is the dog and cat has been removed and replaced with domesticated animal. Carson did have a couple of pretty much, they were just spelling checks and grammar checks that I'll send to Alex, but I don't think that I'm going to go through those. It's basically a spell check and a grammar type situation. So that was Carson's feedback. I'm going to go around the committee and ask for feedback from everyone. Why don't I start with Sonia? Sonia, you were the first person I heard from when I sent those edits out. Okay, how about we start then with Colleen? Colleen, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I have a lot of
Oh,
questions.
sorry, Alex, I saw you. Okay, can I hold on? I'm sorry, I think Alex would like to speak to the group. Can I ask you to hold on a minute?
Okay.
Thank
And
you
I
so much.
apologize, Ms. Dickerson. I think what will make this most efficient is if I go through very quickly and just give you the idea of what the intent was. And one of the things that I think can sometimes be misunderstood about the entire process is that it's not any committee's burden to actually write the code. I'm not saying I welcome any edit, any comment or anything, but it's my burden to do the actual writing. Again, I welcome any thoughts, any assistance, any editing, But the goal here was to make it so that if any code enforcement officer comes across any domesticated animal, which is any, as you had stated, Ms. Bowden, any either pet or livestock that is either being neglected, that is being treated cruelly, or that is running at large, that code enforcement officer has the ability to impound that animal. Now, for wild animals are a totally different circumstance, so it doesn't really come into play for this, but that was the whole goal in writing this. And so, and I do believe that I've gotten to that goal, but I welcome any comment or any question or anything, but if the question is what we're trying to accomplish, it's just that if any code enforcement officer sees any animal that is domesticated in the broad sense, he or she can impound that animal if it's necessary to do so.
Great. Thank you. Supervisor Lewis, I guess I should have started with your feedback, and especially in the sense that, do you believe this helps code enforcement protect all animals in the city of Inglewood? Is this what you were looking for?
Thank you, Chair Bolden. First off, let me just welcome the new members. I look forward to potentially meeting with you in the near future. I'd love to set up a scheduled meeting in the near future with each of you. Yes, so the problem was posed to this group that we've encountered multiple cases where we weren't able to impound certain animals, and we left them in horrific situations because a court made a ruling regarding this particular ordinance. And so I posed that to you, you presented it. This meets the needs of the current, this meets the needs of the Code Enforcement Division, as we've outlined. We've partnered with the City Attorney's Office. Every single code enforcement officer has reviewed this and made feedback notes back to the City Attorney. This is exactly what we were asking for, and I greatly appreciate the City Attorney and every single member on this committee that moved this forward. This really does, it saves animals and it allows us to do what people think we already do, which we weren't able to do for half the animals in the city of Inglewood.
That's great. Thank you, Dave. Okay, Colleen, go ahead.
Okay. There's no indication that you made some very necessary changes in the definitions, because the definitions still say dogs and cats. So you're going to have to make those changes to make that code valid. And you skipped over a couple of codes altogether.
Hold on, Colleen. When you say definitions in dogs and cats, are you referring to the beginning of the article that's titled definitions?
There's definitions that define at-risk and dangerous dog. It's only dogs and cats that are defined for at-risk or dangerous. So unless you change that to domesticated animals in the definition, wherever it appears only as dogs and cats, the code is meaningless.
So can you be more specific than that?
All right. In definitions in 7(1)(a)(1), classified any dog or cat adjudicated as at-risk or dangerous. At-risk animal, any dog or cat. Repeatedly runs at large, any dog or cat. Dangerous animal, any dog or cat. At-risk animal, any dog or cat. I've duplicated this. I was having a lot of trouble with my computer. The definitions can stay, but on dog or cat, but the dog or cat owner has to change to domesticated. Dog or cat, stray and or running at large. These are all definitions. So stray and running at large, private, public, it just identifies dog and cat. Kennels or cattery, any place where dogs or cats. Let's see, yeah, muzzle. It's only referencing a dog. The definition in 7(1)(c)(1), any animate being excluding the dog and cat, that needs to be removed. I have some other.
A question for you, Colleen. Does this have to relate to animals that have been deemed treated cruelly or neglected? Or you?
It has to do with everything in the code.
So let me stop you there. So our focus tonight is we're just looking at the section of the code that addresses the ability to impound animals other than dogs and cats. So I think I hear what you're saying, but it really doesn't relate to the section that we're reviewing.
It most definitely does. It's a ripple effect. If you're going to change, and the title even just says dogs and cats, that needs to be changed.
Ms. Dickerson?
And I haven't finished. There's another, I have another thing. We need a definition of impound because according to 6-5-1, all code enforcement can do is write summons and complaints. They have no police powers. If you take a dog or a cat or any animal or any property from an individual private property, that has to be a police action because you're seizing private property. And code enforcement doesn't have police powers.
Okay, Colleen, did you have
We do.
edits? Let me go back to you, Alex, in a minute. Let's let Colleen go ahead and finish. So Colleen, did you
And
have?
there's a couple of codes that refer to dogs and cats, and it has to do with tethering and their welfare. It's code number, let's see, where did it go? Yeah, I went through the definitions and that was a nightmare. Okay. Yes. 7-1C-2, it has to do with animal welfare, keeping them clean and removing manure. I think it's 7-1A-2. I don't believe you addressed that. At risk and dangerous behavior prohibited, it shall be unlawful for any dog or cat or any dog or cat owner. And on 7-1A-4, tethering, it shall be unlawful for any dog or cat owner to tether such animal. You would need to include those if you're going to be talking about cruelty, because that's part of the cruelty. But I think it's incumbent upon us. There's nothing in the code that says code enforcement can impound. And impounding is a specific police action because it's seizing property. And it also says, when it talks about impounding, it says the city. It doesn't define code enforcement. And the Title 6-5-1 that does define the duties of code enforcement says they don't have police powers, they can't make arrest, and impounding is the equivalent of arrest. It's seizing private property or family, because a lot of people consider their pets family. It's seizing. And I think we need due process here too, that just because they think it might be neglected, I think they need to have a warrant from the court to do it. And that would be a police power.
Okay, thank you. Colleen, did you have any other comments?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's very confusing and leaving the definitions the way they are in the separation really the thing needs to be brought together because there's I'm losing track of this. I'm having to operate from a second computer and wasn't able to get a lot of stuff. Oh yes, the prohibition of livestock. It shall be unlawful, and this is in the section under other animals. It shall be unlawful for anyone within the city limits to keep, harbor, or maintain cattle, horses, sheep, goats, or swine on their premises. So the definition of domestic animals, domesticated animals, includes livestock, but livestock are prohibited. So it's not going to solve the problem of allowing swine as pets because swine are prohibited. So either that whole section has to go away, or nobody will be able to impound anything that's listed as livestock. And I remember back when this was all being discussed to allow pot-bellied pigs or other animals or livestock, well, where do we draw the line on pigs? Because somebody wanted to keep a pot-bellied pig. And up until about a year or so old, they can stay under 130 pounds, and that was the limit they were talking about. It never made it into the code. It never went past the discussions stage, but they said after 130 or 150 pounds, it becomes dinner. But they never changed the code. Livestock, if it's domesticated animals, are included in the first section as livestock, but they're prohibited in another section. That's an inconsistency. One of two things has to happen. Either the prohibition goes away, or adding livestock to the definition of domesticated animals as pets has to go away, because livestock are domesticated. So either they're included or they're not. So I'm not sure that changing this domesticated thing is going to do us any good. And we need to have some very specific due process things built into the impounding. There should be evidence, not just, oh, I think that animal is being neglected and I'm just going to take it.
Okay. Colleen, were there any other comments?
Those are the main ones,
Okay.
impounding, definitions, and the issue of domesticated animals that are also livestock.
Okay, thank you. So Alex, I know you had your hand raised. I'm sorry. I wanted
No, I'm
to
sorry, I
let
just left it
Colleen-
up.
No, it's okay. I'm glad you did, because sometimes it's hard to keep track when you've got a screen full of people. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to go ahead and get through Colleen's comments. And I'm sure that you have some further insight that you can provide there.
I do. And first, I would note that a number of the things that Ms. Dickerson said is correct, that there are some things that could be cleaned up within this code. And I did bring that up to City Council was about a week, it was about 8 days ago. Can't remember when we had the Tuesday meeting. And gave them the option. Do we want to go forward with just this sort of quick fix to allow code enforcement to impound at-large and dangerous animals? Or do we want to do sort of the big fix that will take more time and sort of synthesize and then clear up any sort of confusions or perceived inconsistencies within the code? And City Council specifically instructed me to bring this to you so that we could clear this up, make it so that code enforcement could, as Mr. Lewis so eloquently said, do the job that everyone expects them to, and then go back and look at whether or not we want to sort of take on the challenge of cleaning up everything so that it flows well. The other thing I would know, and I really want to remind you, you'll be much more effective as a body if you focus on this is what we want to have happen, not necessarily the specifics of, the way the legalese reads. Because you're not expected to be lawyers, and that's not the role that you have. You're expected to be citizens who come in and say, look, from a code enforcement perspective, this is what we want to see happen. So for instance, to sort of pick up what Ms. Dickerson was saying, if you do believe that, well, prior to impounding an animal, code enforcement should have to seek a warrant, that's something that you can bring to the city council and they can make that decision as a recommendation. But what city council is not looking for, and what the role of these boards and commissions isn't to say, you need to change section J and change the writing on that because I don't believe it passes legal muster. That's the job of the city attorney's office and of city council. And I'm just saying that so as to sort of encourage you going forward to be able to get the most out of this group as you can. Because what we really want, and the whole purpose behind boards and commissions, is to have citizens come forth and say, this is how we want things to function in our city.
Alex, is it appropriate to say that there is further work being done on the remainder of the animals and fowl article?
Yes.
Great. So I assume that did you take notes on Coeen's input? Because I think, you know, her input belongs in the bigger article, and really what we're doing is we're just focusing on this one section.
And certainly, and I would welcome if Ms. Dickerson wanted to send me an email delineating that at any detail she wanted. That's very helpful to me. And certainly a number of the things that she mentioned, I'm certainly aware of, that this was originally written so as to only apply to dogs and cats.
Right.
And I can't speak as to why that is, but the goal of this sort of patch fix was that if we do have some sort of any animal that fits the definition of an animal that's being treated cruelly, well, a domesticated animal that's being treated cruelly, or that is a danger, or that is at large, that animal can be impounded if appropriate.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So when are you presenting the further edits to council? Is there a deadline on that?
There wasn't a deadline, and
okay.
I apologize, I can't give you a specific date at all.
Okay.
It's one of the many sort of projects, and will certainly be helpful and will clean things up, but won't have the same immediate and helpful effect that this will.
Okay, great. Thank you. What I'd like to do is I'd like to hear from the other members of the committee. Let's see, Monica, did you have any comments?
Well, just looking at it with my non-legal eye, it looked fine to me. And I came to this meeting wanting to hear if the code enforcement division would find this helpful. And I appreciate Alex kind of steering us. And it feels good to just know that what we've done is appropriate. And it's okay to like eat this elephant one bite at a time. So if it's getting the job done, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Monica. Sonia?
Oh, here I am. Oh, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, good. All right. I completely agree with Alex, and I felt like the code was rewritten to serve its purpose, to help code enforcement with everything they come across, whether it be backyard chickens or some kind of animal that's not even supposed to be here. So I agreed with it. I thought it was good and it was simple enough that I felt like most people could read it and understand what it meant. It was simplified.
Thank you, Sonia. Cara?
Hi. Yeah, so I think I agree. If this, if Dave Lewis is happy with these changes and this is going to, work for him and his group, also am 100% all for it. And thank you, Alex, for, doing the drafting. And I think we all realize that, the code does need a larger overhaul, and that's going to take time. But there's an immediate need here right now, and I think this solves that. So thank you.
Thank you, Cara. Christopher, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear it.
I appreciate that. Absolutely. Reading through it, everything to me seems very reasonable and also comprehensive. I agree with it. I think it looks good. And I also think there are going to be unique situations that arise, at which point that, we can either make amendments to it or make changes as they come up. But everything I saw looked great.
And Robert Watson, did you have any comments or questions?
I do not. I reviewed it and it looked good.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So at this point, I'd like to see if we can do a motion to approve the edits to section 1-A in terms of impounding animals so that code enforcement can protect all animals in Inglewood. Could I have a first and second motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Cara. Okay, those in favor of approving the edits to this section as proposed by the city's attorney's office, and Alex, I'll forward to you the grammatical things that I received. Please raise your hand in favor. So it looks, Maureen, can you see our hands? Yes.
No, I can't. So I'm going to go ahead and call everybody's name and you make a vote. Okay, so Christopher?
In favor.
Okay. Julie?
Yes, in favor of.
Monica?
Aye.
Colleen?
Colleen, we
No.
don't. Colleen, we don't have your.
Sonia?
Yes. I approve.
And, okay, Kara?
I approve.
Okay, and Colleen?
Opposed unless we make the changes to the definitions for at-risk and dangerous dog.
Okay, that's all, then that would be 6-1.
Okay, wonderful. Dave, do you have what you need from us in order to move forward? And Alex, or do you need this in writing?
We certainly have what we need from you.
Okay, great.
And thank you for looking at this and doing the work that you guys do. It's very helpful.
Well, thank you. We're impressed at how quickly this was taken care of. And I will go ahead and send to you the comments that I received from Carson. And then Colleen, I encourage you to share the insight you gained from reviewing it with Alex so that they can consider that when they do the larger overhaul. So thank you.
First, we are going to continue on doing this larger overhaul. We put it on our priority list to discuss the changes that we need to see. At the last meeting, we discussed putting it on our priority list.
Okay. I don't have that in front of me. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Sorry. So what does that mean, Colleen?
Well, I'm happy to send it out to him, and I will send it to you also. And you can disseminate it to the committee if and when we ever want to discuss it.
Okay, great.
But it was something we discussed because I pointed some of this out before, that that is not a simple change. It is a pretty massive one, and that there were a lot of issues involved.
Okay. All right. Dave?
I just have one statement before we close because this is a public hearing. So I wanted to make sure I was given that opportunity when you guys conclude.
I think that we're getting ready to conclude. So go ahead.
Okay, so because this is a public forum and we have new members, I feel that it's very important that I make this statement because some opinions were shared by Member Dickerson that are not factual. And I do need to make sure that the public knows that and this body knows that. Ms. Dickerson did make claims that we do not have the authority to impound animals and that we are not considered peace officers. I do want to make sure that in our code that Inglewood code enforcement officers are defined as a peace officer. We do have limited authority. We cannot make an arrest, but we do have the authority to impound animals within the Inglewood Municipal Code. Secondly, Ms. Dickerson needs to be aware that we are also given that authority under the Colorado Revised Statute. We are defined as peace officers also under that statute. There are hearings that are built into not only the Inglewood Municipal Code to prove that we have a case. Just like with a child, you can remove a child, you can remove an animal, but you do have to have a due process hearing, and that is set up in municipal code. It's also set up within the state statute. And further, just so everyone within the community and this board knows, is we are certified and trained, and we are agents with the Department of Agriculture. Therefore, we are Bureau of Animal Protection agents with the Department of Agriculture, which further defines us as peace officers and gives us this authority. We also have the authority to inspect animals for a variety of reasons considered administrative, not just criminal. So I do want to let you know, the community know, that we are doing our jobs. We do have the authority, and the information that was given by Ms. Dickerson is not factual.
Thank you for the clarification, Supervisor Lewis. At that, I'm going to declare this meeting as adjourned. Thank you all for attending and for the work that you did to get this through. I appreciate it.
Thank you all. This is a great step. You guys are doing great work. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
And if there is any, if you ever have any questions or if there's anything that we can help with, just reach out.
Great.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.